The Chrono Odyssey playtest was this weekend, and it's actually still ongoing as I post this video. I was able to put in about 7 hours over the last few days. Just to preface everything I'm about to say, because this video is going to be critical and a little nitpicky, I am a huge MMO fan. It's by far and away the genre I've put the most time into, and I've been playing these games since I was a little kid. I want this game to succeed, badly, but in its current state, I don't see a world where it will have sustained success. There is definitely some good present, but it is extremely rough around the edges. To be fair to the development team here, keep in mind that the studio's CEO and founder posted this on X, claiming this is an older build of the game. If that's true, many of the issues I am about to bring up could already be addressed. Now that that is out of the way, let's start with the good, because there is definitely some here. First, the combat. I struggle to use the word Souls-like because it seems so over-applied these days. However, I would be remiss not to at least offer it as a comparison. Enemies, even in the early game, are significantly more challenging than other MMOs. You have to utilize blocking and dodging to actually avoid being hit, as just a few hits will kill you. Compared to the dumbed down, impossible to lose combat of comparable entries into this genre, this is a breath of fresh air. The combat itself is reminiscent of New World. You aim with the mouse, can lock onto enemies with the middle mouse button, and you utilize a small selection of abilities on a condensed action bar. Weapon switching between two different weapons is also present. However, in my limited gameplay, I wasn't able to really find a use for that. Further, as you see in the gameplay on the screen now, larger boss enemies have a stagger bar, allowing you to get some free hits in once reduced until the boss recovers. While improvements can definitely be made, the fundamentals of a fun combat system are present, which is more than can be said for many other recent MMO releases. The second thing is during the playtest I actually had a lot of fun with the questing in this game. It is definitely not the questing revolution we have been hoping for in this genre, and consists of your standard array of fetch quests, go kill X here, or go find X item. However, the game does do a good job of providing open world quest encounters that feel dynamic and allow you to temporarily break away from the monotony of chasing objective markers. For example, in an early game area outside of the first town, you'll hear an NPC yelling about being stuck on top of a waterfall. You don't get a marker, and you have to actually walk over to the waterfall and spot him standing there. You go over, save him, and get set on a series of tasks to rescue him and collect his belongings before receiving a reward. The questing system is also much less structured than many comparable MMOs. I did not often feel like I was just going to a new area, being assigned a few tasks, doing those tasks, and moving to the next area. It seemed as if I actually had a choice to take on the missions I wanted and ignore the ones I didn't, and still maintain a steady level of progression that allowed me to comfortably move on to the next areas. I often found myself returning to old zones to do missions that felt too difficult initially, but became easier with more levels or new gear. Though the questing system is far from revolutionary, and certainly not a complete overhaul in the genre, its ability to keep old zones fresh was invited. The third major design choice that I had a lot of fun with, and probably was my favorite, was the amount of open world encounters and activities that were present on the map. The most prominent of these were the open world mini-bosses, which you see on the screen now. While being almost impossible to tackle these alone, these encounters really shined when you were able to find a group of other players or stumbled across a fight that was already in progress. These often dropped rare level relevant materials and gear that made them worth the effort. Other open world encounters included the common clear this area to receive a chest of loot gameplay that we see in comparable games. Those weren't as fun, in my opinion. Beyond these major positives, there were some other good decisions that I feel were worth highlighting. These include a gathering and crafting system that feels very much like New World, and was one of the things that New World got right. The gear I was able to craft was often a significant upgrade on comparable level gear drops, validating the tedium of the time it took to gather those materials. The world design is also awesome. The areas you encounter, especially as you get a few hours into the game, exude a dark fantasy, almost sci-fi feel that is a nice departure from the overused pink and purple cartoonish color palettes we see in so many games today. Finally, the general sandboxy freedom granted to the player was reminiscent of ArcAge, and it really allows you to experience the game in your own way. Whether that's through determining if you want to get, gear drops, or if you want to craft your own gear, or if you want to use the auction house, or what quest you do when, there was a ton of freedom afforded to the player in how progression works. However, now it's time to get to the negative part of this video, which is going to be a fair bit longer than the positives. First, the game runs poorly, and performance was a consistent issue throughout my playtime. Running on a 5070, I often experience frame rates dropping as low as into the 30s while fighting. Textures rendered strangely or late, and enemies look like you were watching them in a movie theater 3D glasses when they would engage. Second, there were a lot of game design choices that were also, well, poor. As you see on the screen now, when I was in a quest zone and looking to find the next objective on the quest, I ran into a blue wall that encircled the entire zone. This just feels bad. This doesn't feel like a game that's coming out in 6 months or 7 months or at the end of the year. It feels like a game that's 2 or 3 years away and in the early stages of development. To some extent, you have to take the studio's comment that this is an early build from at least a year ago at face value. If that's true, maybe some of these things are already removed, and hopefully they are. If it's not true, this is a huge issue that's going to lead to declining player counts when the game comes out. Second, the movement is terrible. The running animation looks ridiculous, and changing directions maintains that ridiculous animation regardless of if you're going forward, back, left, right, whatever. Climbing is also very inconsistent. Which ledges can be grabbed and which cannot is not clear, and often leads to falling significant heights. Building off that, fall damage seems almost random, with similar height drops leading to seemingly different results. Some massive drops will kill you, while others will seemingly do no damage. That inconsistency is very frustrating. The last thing regarding movement, and kind of a break off of the combat system, is that attacking from very close range will often not result in a hit. This can be extremely frustrating, especially in close quarters, intense boss fights, where you think you're in range to hit, you start the animation, you don't hit, and it leads to you yourself getting hit. A lot of these criticisms regarding movement are small and nitpicky, and won't lead to a massive decline of players when the game comes out. However, things such as the running animation and climbing issues, well, they add up, and you'll see these criticisms available online. All of these things combined, while small by themselves, are a symptom of the major problem, which is that the game in general just feels bad to play. Movement should feel smooth and crisp, and right now it's not like that at all. This is just another frustration added to a long list. Third was the quest tracking, which was terribly inconsistent in my playtime. Just like many other MMOs, when you get a quest, there's going to be a marker marked 1, 2, 3, whatever number the quest is. It's going to be present on the right side of your screen and on your little compass thing at the top, as well as your mini-map. The issue is that sometimes these markers just disappear and there's no way to find them again. I have several quests that were in my backlog that I didn't want to abandon because I wanted to do the quest itself, but I had no idea where to go because the marker had disappeared and, well, I couldn't get it back. I can't tell you how many times this occurred during my playtime this weekend, or how much time was wasted when I was headed in the direction of a marker for a quest. The marker disappeared and, well, I just said, screw it, I'm gonna keep going that direction. And what ended up happening was I was way off course, or I had to go back in a big circle and wander around an area where I didn't really know if I was in the right, area or not, and I was just looking for this quest objective. 9 times out of 10, that ended in me just giving up because it was frustrating, and I just didn't complete those quests. There also is not a ton of clarity present on what you're supposed to be doing when. For example, the boss fight you see on the screen here, which I eventually ended up defeating, is a early step in the main quest line. It sends you here right after doing several really easy to accomplish quests, and you quickly find out you're not geared enough for this or leveled enough. While this isn't really a major frustration, as you can just go get more gear or level up more, it would be nice to have, a little bit more direction as far as, am I supposed to be here now? Am I just struggling because I'm not good at the game? Or am I struggling because I, need to get new things or get stronger before I do this task? Another big issue, which is present a little bit in this gameplay that's on the screen now, is the lock-on camera is absolutely awful. You have zero control over it once you've locked on, and it often glitches behind walls or gets in a section where you can't really see what you need to see to complete the fight. This led to a lot of deaths in my playtime, and it's not fun to die, not because you did something that messed up, but because the camera's behind the wall and you can't see anything. And while I spent a lot of time talking about how good the combat system was early in this video, there were some issues present, especially in boss fights. For example, it seemed like getting hit one time automatically made sure you got hit a second or third time. Messing up one dodge often led to a death. Not because the main attack killed you, but because the follow-ups did, and your character couldn't get out of the way quick enough. This is not good game design. While I do want a challenge in the combat and enjoy games like Dark Souls, it's important to make sure that challenge is fun. When it feels unfair, it's not fun, and that just makes you not want to do these fights over again. There's also a lot of minor sound design choices that just don't make a lot of sense. For example, in the entry to this boss fight, you open a massive gate. There's zero noise. There's noise in everything else you do in the game, but when you open this massive gate, it's completely silent. Stuff like that is once again nitpicky, and maybe it's something that's just because it's early in development that'll be added on before the game comes out. However, like almost everything else I've mentioned as a negative, this is just another small thing that leads to the experience feeling bad. Further, the game, like many other recent releases in the genre, has gone with this minimalistic looking UI, which looks more like a mobile game than something you would play on PC. People don't like this. Please change this. This shouldn't take a lot of time, and it looks terrible right now. This is, once again, another thing, like all the other things, that is small and nitpicky, but added together makes the experience worse. All in all, I had a difficult time quantifying why I didn't really have a great time playing this game over the weekend. In general, the thing I keep repeating, which is true, is that the game just feels bad. Everything about it feels unpolished, feels rough, it feels rushed out the door, and it feels like decisions were made that you weren't consistent with each other. People are looking for something new in this genre, and I'm not really sure in its current state why anyone would play Chrono Odyssey over the variety of other games that are available in the genre. This game felt like a less polished Throne and Liberty, and, well, everyone saw what happened with Throne and Liberty, with its player base dropping dramatically in a short period of time after it came out. When a new game comes out in the MMO genre, it's usually very difficult to get me to stop playing for the first week or two that it comes out. I wanted to sink a lot of time in this, and I was excited to get the playtest when I got the email that I was included. However, it was difficult to even get the gameplay required for this video. I felt myself forcing myself to play the game just to, check out new systems or make sure I wasn't too unfair when I was doing the review. Even getting 6 or 7 hours of gameplay over 3 days felt like a chore, and, well, nobody wants to play a chore. I do want to reiterate that I don't think this game is dead in the water yet. With some changes prior to release, this could be a fun experience. There's good bones there. The combat system, which in my opinion is the most important thing in MMOs that most games do incorrectly, is good here. Well, it could be really good. The format or the, structure they need to make this fun is there. It just needs polish. Second, the world design is really, really good. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a nice departure from a lot of the same generic stuff we've seen from other games. The kind of dark fantasy sci-fi vibes you get in all the different areas, including the second boss, which you see on the screen now, is really cool. You can tell they put a lot of effort into this, and the result is good. There's not a lot of changes needed to the world or art design. I know I keep repeating it, but the game just feels bad to play. That's the problem. There's a lot of good structure here and a lot of bones to make a good game, and the game could end up being really good, especially if what the studio is saying regarding this being an old build is true. Maybe some of these things are already fixed. If so, that would completely change a lot of my opinion. I hope this game is good. I hope a lot of these problems are fixed by the time it releases. I'm going to play it regardless. If these things are fixed and the combat system is expanded upon, I could see this being very successful. It's going to have a large initial player base, just like every MMO, including the ones that end up being horrifically bad. The question is just going to be, how long can it maintain that player base? Right now, the answer is not long, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be. This is a 5.5 out of 10 experience. However, with some changes to the polishing issues or performance, this could very easily jump to a 7 out of 10, and then, the more important changes could come later, even if they're post-launch. As long as you can get something that's a base level of fun and playable out the door when the game launches, this game will see some success. I hope it does. I hope these changes are made and these problems are addressed. And yeah, that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe.